Today's episode of The Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown is brought to you by Jeanette McKenzie, Realtor at Forest Hill Signature, Jewelry Forever at jewelryforever.ca, and Beautified by Romina. Enjoy the show.
Broadcasting live from Glenmore Record Studios in Toronto, this is The Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown, your Sunday morning talk show with interesting guests, live musical performances, and the most fun you can fit in your coffee cup. Hosted by Scott Dion Brown and Regine Alaina, this is The Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 307 of The Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown and Regine Alaina. I am your host, the one, the only Scott Dion Brown. But I am not joined by the legendary co-host, Regine Alaina, because she's feeling under the weather, everybody. She's sick, sore throat, all that stuff. So, Regine, I will trudge on without you, but get well soon. Get well soon. Hope you're feeling better. And I'm wearing green today because we're pretty close to St. Patrick's Day. And of course, it was Regine who remembers these things and texted me last night and being like, "Oh, I'm wearing green for St. Patrick's, by the way." And I was like, "Me too." So even though you didn't make it here today, this was your influence, Regine. Look at this green. Looks fantastic. Looks fantastic. So get well soon, co-host. And also shout out to Marky Hugh Productions, because on Saturday night, Regine and I both were where's the thingy? We were media partners for the JR concert featuring special guest Mika Javier as well. Fantastic performance. It was over at the Rembrandt Banquet Hall here in Toronto. And we got a bunch of interviews, so a lot of that is going to be probably turned into an episode a little bit later, so you guys can see that later on. But great show. We had an awesome time. Thank you so much, Marky Hugh, and all of your team for putting on such a great event and for having us there. I got to see JR perform live in person for the first time, and fantastic voice. And what a hunk, am I right? Anyways, thank you. Thank you all. Now, everybody, I think we should bring in the guest right away because, especially because the co-host is not here. Normally, I would be talking to her, but it's kind of awkward if I'm just talking to myself. And we have a guest here. So our guest today is an author who just came out with a book very, very recently. So recently, in fact, that I was there at the book launch event. So that was exciting. But the book is Architectural Guide Manila. And as you can see, that name right under there, she is, in fact, our guest. So please, everyone, give a warm sit-down welcome to Bianca Weeko Martin. Hello.
Hi. Thanks for having me, Scott.
Thank you.
Get well soon, Regine.
Yes. Get well soon. Thank you for being here. I thank you for. I understand you were at karaoke last night. Mm-hmm. So thank you for your voice has survived to do an interview today.
Thank you. Yeah, I thought it was fitting since we met at karaoke. Full circle.
Yeah, we did. That's right. Yeah. So your book launch was at the new location of La Kai Cucina, fantastic restaurant, and you had your book event there, and then I was the musical entertainment, and then I also led a live karaoke event.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
The flow was perfect, and you just got every single song chords it was incredible.
Yeah, it's a pretty fun, for me it's a pretty fun experience, because it's like it's something that I'm pretty new to doing, and it's interesting to there's this kind of challenge side of it where it's like somebody comes up to me and goes, "Oh, do you know this song?" And usually it's a song that I'm like, yeah, I think I've heard that once, you know. So then it's just a matter of like, okay, what can I remember? All right, let's just try to go. So I like it. It keeps me on my toes, and there's something also fun about singing to like real instruments in karaoke, right?
Yeah. I was honestly nervous at first because I thought people would be shy, but I feel like you gave off such a welcoming energy, and like, yeah, there's just that exchange of the people coming up and you playing the instrument. So that was like, yeah, it's a perfect part to the opening or the launch. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It was a lot of fun. You know what it always takes? It always takes like, there's that one person who has to like be the brave one who goes up and is like, because yeah, that's right. At the beginning, it was like, okay, because what was happening is I was kind of the background music, playing music, and I remember there was a point I even looked over at Ariel, the owner of La Calle Cocina, and I was like, I don't know if anyone's going to want to do karaoke. I mean, whatever, I can just keep playing, right? And then it just takes that one person to come up, like, okay, I'm going to do a song, and then the kind of the floodgates open. Everyone's like, okay, I want to do one. So,
Yes, exactly.
So now I want to ask you about, well, obviously, the reason for the karaoke event that we both met at. It wasn't just karaoke. It was, of course, a book launch for this architectural guide, Manila. First of all, I want to say congratulations because
Thank you.
yeah, I mean,
My baby.
yeah, it's amazing. So this is your first published book. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've co-edited books, but this is my first. My first baby.
That's amazing. So yes, congratulations, and tell us a little bit about Architectural Guide, Manila.
So, as the name suggests, it's kind of meant to be this guidebook to Manila, specifically through architecture. And it's part of a series of architectural city guides. So the publisher is based in Berlin, and they've covered a lot of cities, especially in Europe, starting with Eastern Europe. Asia's kind of like a new frontier for them. So I felt like it was a big responsibility to I guess, show Manila to that kind of like academic or architectural world, but also empowering people in the Philippines and here in the diaspora to like take pride in the architecture, because a lot of the buildings people just like kind of pass by, and like I didn't know much about Filipino architecture maybe prior to like 2019, 2020. So yeah, I think that there was like a personal journey in the sense that I was learning through the work and research that went into the book, but it's also this thing that can live as an object and like hopefully preserve knowledge and inspire people to like go to Manila or become more curious about it. So that's it in a nutshell.
Amazing. So I guess the ideal way to use this book, I mean, I guess you can use it for all sorts of things, like just an interest in it. But I guess one way you could do it is like, if you could look through this book, and then maybe before you're visiting Manila, right? It'll allow you to sort of appreciate the city as you take it in an entirely different way, I guess.
Yeah, totally. So I had gotten the Berlin version of this book. That was like my introduction to the series. I was in Berlin and I had a Berlin book, so I would sort of like read through a few pages every day, like go out into the world and have a little bit more I guess of an understanding of what I was about to see. I feel like with Manila, I don't know if you've been, but it's a very like chaotic city. So I think it would be hard to walk around and just like have the book in your hand. Also, it's super hot. So I think, there's, if I were to suggest like a way to read this, it would be a few weeks beforehand, and then also there are QR codes with like every building, so you can locate yourself, which is nice. But it's definitely like, for me, a book that you should like immerse yourself in, and then kind of switch back and forth between being in the world, being in the book. That's how I would do it.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's cool because like I've been in fact we'll talk about it a little bit later, that you and I happened to we were just both in Mexico City, which is cool, and we'll talk about that. But I can imagine if I had some kind of book like that for, say, like Mexico City, and looked at it beforehand, because like when me and my girlfriend, when we travel to different cities, usually what we just do is like we kind of we pick a spot, we may look up and go, oh, there's kind of a museum in that direction. And then our day is kind of just slowly walking or taking transit to get there, right? And you see a lot of things along the way. And like, you know, I'll see and go, oh, that's neat. And if something looks interesting, I'll look at it and maybe take a picture. But I feel like you'd be able to appreciate it so much more if you have some idea. Like, I don't know like the history or even really anything about it. So I can imagine that you could get a much deeper understanding if you have an idea of like why do these buildings look that way, right? And so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, there are also essays between each chapter that are like real deep dives into specific like styles or themes. But yeah, a lot of the way I was putting together the list of buildings was like through that way of just wandering as well. I mean, in Manila, it was more like driving because it's hard to walk through. But I was in a car. I remember being in a car and then driving through Malate, which is where a lot of the cultural buildings are. And I just saw there's one building, the CCP, it's like a big brutalist cultural center. And I just saw it in the distance. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is in the tropics. Like, it felt really out of place and massive. So I had like Google Maps. I was flagging like so many things on Google Maps, and if I just saw something that caught my eye, because I didn't like study the architecture beforehand, I would mark it and try to return to it. So I think there's like a lot of good in spontaneity as well. But yeah.
Awesome. So I want to ask how the book came about. So you mentioned that your introduction to the series was being in Berlin and reading the Berlin one. But most people, if they find a neat book they read, maybe I might read the next one. But it's something else to like, I'm going to write the next one.
Totally.
Yeah. So how did that happen? How did you, how did it happen?
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly that. It was really the confluence of two trips. So that Berlin trip, I was still in undergrad. So I was like in Berlin for a couple of months, and it was my first time. I think it was after an exchange, but I saw the book, and yeah, you're right. I was like, in my head, it'd be so cool if I wrote the Indonesian version of this. That was like what I was thinking at the time, but it was like more of a manifesting. And then maybe that was 2017. So 3 years later, 3 or 4, I was in the Philippines for a family reunion with my parents and like with my whole family there. It was partially in Indonesia and the Philippines. I was born in Indonesia. And yeah, that's when I guess had enough focus time to look at the buildings and just spend time alone in Manila, because usually I was accompanied by family.
Fair enough.
And the opportunity came that year to put together the expose and send it to the publisher to see if it would be a viable book. So
I see. So you kind of contacted them. You reached out to them and said, "Hey, I want to be the one to create this next book in the series," and you kind of contacted them type situation.
I had a contact at the publisher after that Berlin trip. So I think they had sent me, it was on WhatsApp. They were like, yeah, what do you think about putting together this expose for this book? And I didn't really take it so seriously at first. And I was super intimidated because it's like 200 buildings and I knew none. But yeah, that was kind of the invitation. And I sent this expose that had the first draft of my intro essay and 5 buildings, so the photos and the descriptions.
Amazing. So all right, so yeah, so then you get the job. So what's involved? Because like just even a cursory look at the book, but like it's very, very dense. You know, I mean, there's so much information and tons of amazing photos too.
Thank you.
So how did you approach it? I guess so. Okay, yes, we want you to do this book. What was it? Did it feel overwhelming at first? Where you're like, okay, now what am I going to do? I've got this job now. And how did you approach it? How did you go about bringing the book to life?
Oh my gosh, I feel like I was really naive. So I like now in retrospect, I can see like every step and phase, but at the time I was just like in it, you know. So Okay, that was family reunion year. I stayed behind for a month while my parents went back to Canada. And I thought that I could finish it in a month. I was like, yes, I'm going to stay at my Lola's house and just like take, 5 photos of buildings like every day, and then I'll get there. So I really stressed myself out because of this self-imposed deadline. Anyways, the month ended and I didn't have the book. Obviously, I had like maybe 10% of it, 5% looking back. So I went back and basically life kind of continued. Like I continued working here in architecture and had the book as this like, evening project that I had to like set a structure and put hours into. But there was only so much I could do here in Canada on the manuscript, mainly in the writing. And there's like an embodied sense of understanding that you get from living in Manila.
Being in the actual place,
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I did was I was here and I followed a bunch of Instagram pages like Brutalist Pilipinas. Shout out to my friend Patrick. He runs that. So there were like, it was a big like networking phase too, I'd say, through social media, through research. And then when I finished my master's, I lived in Asia for half a year, and it was kind of like my eat, pray, love trip. But Manila was my base, and that's sort of when I wrapped up all the photography, all the meetings with architects, and then, came back here, submitted the manuscript in January of 2024, last year.
Okay,
yes.
yeah. Wow. That's amazing. It sounds like, it's funny you mentioning how like, I figured it would take this long, and then it was, a month should be fine. It kind of sounds like must be similar. Like I'm a filmmaker as well, and there were times when I'm like I'm planning the shoot, and like I've started to teach myself now. I'm like when I look at something and I think, that'll take a day, I'm always like I should probably double it or maybe triple it, because it's always just like it ends up being so much more dense than you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
But what was something that ended up taking way longer maybe of the process that you maybe didn't anticipate?
Ooh, I guess 2 things. Just understanding the city, because that's something you can't just do, in one reunion. There's like a whole, there are all these nuances and a certain rhythm to the day that I think I got by just living there, commuting from one neighborhood to another, and really experiencing that. And then also anything that was related to like external stakeholders.
Okay.
I had a lot of meetings with architects and people who were pre-purchasing the books. So that whole like marketing side of things is not my forte. And I think it took a long time because you just didn't have control over people's responses or whether they were interested. So that was the part that I found the most challenging.
I see. Just wrangling all these people together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were able to speak to like, obviously depending on the age of the building, you're actually able to meet or speak to certain architects who's like, yep, that's the building that I designed, and I would actually talk directly to them.
Yeah. So, one thing was that, so I tried to set up all these meetings when I was in the process of doing the book, and I had this like giant spreadsheet. Maybe, again, 10% of the people responded, but when it actually launched and the project was complete, we had this like really fancy opening in the Metropolitan Theater in Manila, and then that was when all the architects were responsive and wanted to jump on board. And like some of them are obviously not alive anymore, so it was like their kin, their granddaughters or whatever. But yeah, it just felt like a lot of people who were not responsive when it wasn't a fully complete project yet were like just like popping out of nowhere at the end.
So they were like, so first they thought, I don't know what this is, and they saw, oh wait, this is a real thing. I want to get in there.
Yeah, and you probably get that with filmmaking too. It's like, it's so amazing to just finish anything.
So I guess when they show up, like, so these are people showing up like at the launch of the event. So like, it's like, it's not like I can just write you guys in now, right? Like the book is kind of finished at that point. So.
Yeah, they were, there were some really like, I included architects even if they weren't responding like directly, because there was already a lot of second literature. So the launch was really humbling because there were some of these like really great big names that I didn't realize would be so invested. Like they were just so happy and grateful to be included. And so for some people I think it was just hard to reach, like communication in the Philippines, like some people prefer Facebook over email, little things like that. But overall there were challenges, but at the opening or the launch, I was just really excited to feel accepted, and that the efforts kind of like landed in the right way.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, because in a way, I mean, you're creating a historical document, right? And like I think you're preserving those stories in a way that I think is really neat. Did you, in doing all your research for the book, did you find yourself, because obviously like the book explores different eras, like in the history of the architecture and everything. Did you find yourself do you have a favorite era of the architecture that you found in Manila, or one that you preferred more, or one that you found more interesting, or?
Yeah, I think it changed like throughout the project. So now having finished up the book, the programming, the contemporary architecture really sticks out to me now because I realize that it's a little bit less covered than the other things, and because now I have again like faces to put to those names, and a lot of them are really nice and like really active in trying to rejuvenate parts of Manila. But when I first started with the book, I had mentioned that building, the CCP. So that brutalist era of architecture was really what got me intrigued at the beginning, because I had spent time in Eastern Europe and other places internationally where I had seen like similar styles. So and that those brutalist buildings were like more tied to, you know, communist regimes and like those types of authoritarian eras. But in the Philippines, like I saw the same buildings and it was like shocking to me because it seemed out of context. And that like element of surprise was what really drew me into brutalist buildings. And also there's like this big community online, as I've said, social media. So yeah, that was my entry point, but I find that there's like more hope or more room to hope in the contemporary buildings now.
See, very interesting. Yeah, that's cool. That would make sense as well, because I'm imagining like when I go to, I tend to be more interested in a lot of the older buildings when I go to like, especially if I travel to Europe, especially coming from like a city like Toronto, where like we have old buildings, but a lot of our oldest ones we knocked them down and put up. And so, but I wonder though, you know, I see the modern stuff and I find, I guess I'm less interested in it because maybe it's something I'm more used to seeing, but I wonder what would change in my perspective if I actually had some knowledge about like what's actually behind the design of it and what actually goes into what brings about that style.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I guess the thing with the contemporary stuff is that it can all start to look the same. This like international style across like Singapore. It could be Singapore or Australia or Philippines. But yeah, I guess once you know a bit of the backstory, and I guess you can be contemporary without like building contemporary. There was, we did this heritage tour before the launch in Manila that was in old Manila in the Chinatown. And so I find that contemporary even though they're in old historic buildings, because they're like young people trying to create like an arts hub or just like rejuvenate these old buildings. It's different there because people try to stay away from these historic parts of the city that feel like bogged down or not like high class. So they flock to these like completely new builds. But I met a lot of really inspiring younger creatives who were really trying to like, bring more awareness to the heritage in the buildings.
That's so cool. So it sounds like it was like a really daunting, but also very like fulfilling experience pulling the whole book together.
Yeah. Last year was like, I feel the year of the book, because, I guess the launch that you sang at was this year, but I just had kind of this like series of events. It felt like a book tour. And it started with Manila and then kind of like wrapped up in Toronto, which had a completely different vibe because it was more like me with friends, not necessarily like impressing anyone, and just seeing what the book could open up in like the really big Filipino diaspora that's here.
Very cool. Kieran Scott in the chat says, amazing talent.
Thanks, Kieran.
Thank you for tuning in. And everybody, if you have any questions for Bianca, our guest here today, feel free to ask them in the chat and we can definitely ask them. Where can people get their hands on Architectural Guide Manila if they would like to get themselves a copy?
So the publisher's website, Dom Publishers, you just Google it and it'll be on the web shop. And there are a few stockists in Manila as well. I had copies here, but I was trying to kind of make them like limited release. So you got one of the last ones.
And it's signed. I got it signed, so exclusive, everybody. But there you go. So there you go. So the publisher's website is the best place, you're saying. That's very cool. So would you, having gone through this whole experience, would you do another one of these in another city? What do you think?
Yeah, that's some foreshadowing because I may or may not be doing the Toronto version.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, exclusive tidbit.
Wow. You heard it here first, people. You know what? I actually think, I just mentioned how Toronto architecture, it's like, I love Toronto. I was born and raised here. And I do see a lot of, I've read a lot of things. I know in the 1960s, I think they demolished a lot of the old buildings. Mm-hmm. But I remember I read something about Toronto that kind of made me, appreciate it in a way, in that a lot of, Europe, for example, they spend a lot of their time, keeping their old buildings preserved, you know? Mm-hmm. And, in a way, it kind of locks them in the past, sort of. And this person had written, Toronto... It's it's a city that's happening now. So it's I'm sad that they've torn down a lot of buildings, and at the time maybe those buildings weren't valued, or who knows, they were probably run down. But so in Toronto you have this stuff of you almost feel like you could have an over 100-year-old building smacked on top of something that looks almost like it's from a video game right on top of it, and then you get this weird the ROM exactly, yeah. So you got this you have this weird conflation, I guess, of many eras that feels like they're almost fighting with each other sometimes. But I think Toronto would be could really benefit from a book like that. So
the guides kind of serve different purposes, I feel, right? Depending on the city, because and I had to sort of take the format of the European guides and see how it would fit to Manila, which is not walkable, which requires a different sort of empowering. And I feel for Toronto, we are in such a weird transition period. And I also I grew up here, so it's strange to go to Scarborough and see all this construction on the TTC line. Mm-hmm. And right now I'm doing some stuff with Pearson Airport, which is expanding. So it feels like Toronto could go really one or the other way in terms of its future. So I think that a book like that would be generative, hopefully. I
know I would definitely be interested in it. And I think anybody who's been here, who's grown up here and takes an interest actually in the city itself, I feel I would be very curious, because I know a bit about the kind of architectural history, but it's very basically what I just said. I know there was that one period where everything got knocked down because it was considered, I guess those buildings were considered not in style. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because they built something that at the time was very modern and very awesome. And then I look at some of those buildings and I'm they kind of just look like brown boxes to me in some cases.
Yeah, City Hall. That was really modern, right? Because it was curvy, but I feel my first glimpse of it was seeing it on garbage bins, the logo.
Yeah, that's right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm always curious about, because now, when I go to like my favorite places to go lately have been like I like going to either a European city and like walking around. And I think the reason I like it is because I get so much of what we don't have so much of here. Like obviously you can go to Europe and you can see like a 500-year-old building, right? And there are no buildings of that age. And so I think it makes it so I don't, because I'm used to seeing it, I don't appreciate it as much in the same way. But I'm curious, like, in 100 years from now, will people look at the buildings that like I don't even think are that interesting now, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, that's such a like." You can never know how history will remember things.
Yeah, that's real. I think that about all the glass condos, and I think also, are they even gonna make it to that?
I mean, that's the other part.
Right?
That's true.
But
that's a whole other thing of like things are built so quickly, and like I don't know if the quality is what it once was. Like, yeah, that's true. That's a good point as well.
yeah, but I do think about those like future ruins. It's interesting. Yeah, because there's always gonna be some like unknown with how things age, how the narratives change.
Yeah,
it's kind of scary.
Yeah, and just tastes. Like you never know. Like what I mean, that's like the crazy part is right. Like I remember Instagram is bad for this because like again, it'll pop up and be like, here was the building that got knocked down in 1973, and then here's the building they put up, and it's like, what do you think? And I'm like, oh, but then I think to myself, I imagine I'm like, people like, if people felt now how I feel about that building, then it wouldn't have been knocked down. But obviously the tastes had shifted in such a way that like people didn't like that building. That's why it got knocked down, right? And so, I mean, I guess you just never know because I guess you know how tastes change and how trends happen, and like, so I have no idea what people will like and dislike.
Yeah, there's like taste. I feel like there's also the political aspect, because those brutalist buildings that I mentioned, a lot of them, the majority of them were built during the Marcos regime. So it was like also people disowned them when they shifted political regimes and like also brought to light their injustices. So I was kind of, viewing them from a neutral lens in a way because I didn't live through that era, but also being very aware of what happened. But I think that the advocates for brutalism that I was meeting were of the mindset that they're already built. And it's really like, it takes a lot of resources to demolish things and rebuild.
Yeah.
So what also can you do with the existing skeleton, and like also just really bring awareness to the narratives? Yeah.
Yeah, and in a way, it also preserves the history, right? The story itself of the city. So, yeah, that is interesting. Yeah, especially people who lived through like that part of history, they'll look at it differently. Yeah, than I might just walk in as a tourist and be like, "Whoa, what a cool building!" Meanwhile, people who live there are like, there's this other level of meaning that I wouldn't even be aware of.
Yeah. I really tried to bring that into my sensibility, I guess, when I was looking at those buildings. But there's also a lot of greatness that can come from having a fresh perspective, I think, like as a diaspora, as a visitor, etc. Like Absolutely. You in Europe, for example, appreciating the beauty, whereas like some locals might see it as something that holds them back. And I remember some of my friends in Rome, they're like, they can't even really expand the subway because every time they dig, there's like more ruins, more archaeology, and like all the processes around that. Yeah,
that makes sense. In fact, it's funny, actually, when I get to this question, somebody in the chat, it's a good question. You got the look. Welcome. Hello. You got the
Hi,
look.
Camille.
There you go. You got the look says, favorite Toronto building?
Easily the R.C. Harris water treatment plant.
That's a good choice, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, and my girl Camille has she's celebrated one of my birthday sunrises there with me. So I have a lot of memories attached to the space, but obviously it's just like such a special little part of the city.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know it, right?
I was completely unaware of it until it wasn't even that long, a few years ago, because it's kind of in the east-ish and right on the water. And I guess I'm not over that often, but it was during, Doors Open Toronto, where you can, right? And the crazy thing is that particular year, it was like, so I got to go see this building and I was like, whoa, this is so cool. But for some reason that day, there was this fog it was so thick that like you could walk out to the edge of the water and you couldn't see like 10 feet in front of you. So it was super. So the day I was there, it's just like the building, it felt like I was in some weird dream world where I could only see the building and nothing else around it.
Ooh.
So it kind of made this, so that building has this magical picture in my head now where I can only see it with that look, but it's such a unique building.
Totally, yeah. And it has that ability to transform, like you said. I think because I do my birthdays like with the sunrise. Like I started a few years ago, but I text all my friends like, hey, like meet me here at 5 a.m. And the real ones come. Cool. Yeah. So I think it was 2 years ago, we did it at the water treatment plant. And it was a week when there were all these like forest fires or something, maybe on the west. So we were getting a lot of fog or smog.
Yeah.
And we didn't really see the sun until it was like a little bit off of the horizon. But it was just so like brilliant red because of the smog. Yeah. And then, I love that hill. It's a good picnic spot. But yeah, I guess at Open Doors, you were able to see like the actual water pumps.
It was actually to go inside it and see the whole thing. I mean, the crazy thing is like, it's a water treatment plant. Like that alone shows how different things have changed. Because you can imagine if they built a water treatment plant or basically some kind of factory or some basically an industrial building, right? Industrial buildings are built so quickly and like, you just know it would be like an aluminum box now, like, you know, like strictly functional and nothing else. Whereas this building it's just, I don't know eras of decor, but it's like, you can see it's like, it's been designed in a way to be beautiful, even if you don't know what the building is, you just like to look at it.
Yeah. That's exactly it. Like I've read things about it, calling it this sort of like palace or monument to that type of infrastructure, that kind of like labor.
Yeah.
And I feel like that that's happened in like Russia when they made their subway stations, these like big monuments to public service. So I feel like there was a time in Toronto when they were commemorating infrastructure, like expansion of the city.
Yeah.
And that's a nice thing to bring up to that level.
It'd be nice to get back to that because it kind of feels like, I mean, I don't know. Again, we were, like you mentioned earlier, like how some of the new condos, for example, like the quality wise, we're not even sure how long they're going to last. But it'd be nice if there was more of like, I'm building this building because I want it to stand for 1,000 years and I want everyone to come from all around the world to take pictures of it because it's just going to be the most beautiful thing, Something nice about that.
Yeah, they probably thought that for the ROM, but...
Yeah. Actually, did I hear, I think they're redoing the Crystal. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, they're doing, they are.
I mean, the new design, I think it looks better in that it's like, it feels like almost a more exaggerated version of like, have you seen the new designs? It looks like, so the current one has like the shapes that it is. The new one, it's like, it's the same shapes, except everything's just sharper. And it almost looks more like, I don't know if maybe the technology has gotten better, but it almost looks like they're going to make it more intense in its pokiness.
Oh.
Yeah.
You're like extending the
it's
spikes.
like the angles look, so it's like if this is the angle of one of the spikes, it's now going to be like this. Right?
Oh.
So the whole thing is just going to be, like, looking at it, I mean, I guess because it also was a computer animated rendering, but it looked more like when it's finished, it will look almost more like that's not real, what I'm looking at.
Interesting. I need to catch up on the ROM lore, but that sounds kind of scary.
Yeah. It I again, Instagram. It just popped up on my Instagram.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they're redoing the ROM. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. So we'll see.
Cool.
Maybe it'll be ready just in time for the architectural guide, Toronto.
Exactly. Yes. I have to hunt down whoever's doing the expansion.
Yeah.
Hopefully they don't ghost me this time.
Well, you know what? You just got to show them, hey, look, you've done it once. It's a real book. Okay. So like the people need to like realize, get on board here, get in there. Cause it's very cool.
Thank you.
Burr Martin says, thanks, Scott, for supporting Bianca.
Thanks, Dad.
There you go. Thank you for tuning in. And yeah, we're having a very fantastic chat. And I'm learning a lot as well, which I really like. We're past the halfway point, but we do have to do the ad break. So we're going to do the ad break right now, everybody. And then we're going to come back. We got more to talk about. This went by so fast. I can't believe we just talked straight for 40 minutes and just so quick.
It's the beauty of books.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So today's episode, everybody, of the Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown and Regine Alaina is brought to you by the following fantastic advertisers. They make this show possible. So let's meet them. Starting with Jeanette McKenzie. The Toronto real estate market is growing and changing every day. In these challenging times, you need someone in your corner. Jeanette McKenzie, Realtor at Forest Hill Signature, is committed to looking out for you. She'll go the extra mile to ensure you have all the information you need to make a decision you can feel confident about. Purchasing a home is one of the biggest financial investments you'll make in life. Don't leave it to chance. Call Jeanette McKenzie at Forest Hill Signature. She's my realtor, and she could be yours. Call today at 416-523-0408 or email at jmckenziehomes@gmail.com. Jewelry Forever. Conveniently located at CF Markville Shopping Center on 5000 Highway 7 East, Markham. They do custom-made jewelry, repairs, and they change watch batteries, all done on site. They also do custom laser engraving. Do you need something customized, labeled, a special message perhaps placed inside a special piece of jewelry? Well, Jewelry Forever will do it for you. And Jerry at Jewelry Forever is an incredible artist. Do you have a vision for something custom you'd like made? He can do it. Do you need something repaired? I saw on TikTok, he repaired a ring that got crushed flat by a car, and he brought it back to its former round glory, finger-shaped. They can be wearing it again. And we have a great deal worked out with them. Tell them Scott and Regine sent you. Mention the show. You'll get 15% off your purchase. So get something great at a great deal for the special person in your life. Find out more at jewelryforever.ca. When you're ready to say forever, think Jewelry Forever. Also follow them on Instagram, on TikTok for a lot of cool behind-the-scenes jewelry information. Beautified by Romina. Internationally trained hair and makeup artist. She is the official hair and makeup artist of the Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown and Regine Alaina. She does hair and makeup for our photo shoots, as you can see in that video. She was the makeup artist on my film that's going to be coming out when it's finished editing, but she did a great job on that. She does date nights, pageants, weddings, really any special event where you got to look your absolute best. Find Beautified by Romina, send her a message on Facebook or Instagram, and she can beautify you. And if you'd like to advertise on the show, it's very easy. All you got to do is reach out at radioshowad@gmail.com. We do the show live every week, people. And we also do the ads live week to week. What does that mean? It means you can personalize them week to week. Do you have an event, a sale, something happening at a particular time in a particular place? You let us know. We let your potential client base know in real time. It's a great way to build a brand new relationship with a brand new audience. Get in touch. radioshowad@gmail.com. Hi, everybody. We are back. Episode 307, and we have been having an architectural discussion with Bianca Weeko Martin. Yes, it has been quite deep. Yes, it has. Actually, I want to just ask you, so I assume, like, obviously you were in Berlin and you were I guess what prompted, like, I guess you must just have a deep interest in architecture to want to write a whole book about it, I guess.
Yeah, I did study architecture. I think my appreciation for it grew more over time because, I came with an arts background. I think, I told you I took visual arts at Carter.
We went to the same arts high school.
Yes.
I was in drama. She was in visual arts. Yes.
Yes. Another wild connection. But so I appreciate it a lot more now. I feel like I didn't really understand it going into the program. But I think I also just generally love writing, and I'd love to write some more creative things in the future, but I think the architecture book was like the first stepping stone, which is weird to say.
That's cool. You know, it would make sense actually as a visual artist to take an interest in architecture, because like especially, I mean, I guess all buildings to an extent, but especially buildings that are like very sculptural, say, in their design. I mean, I guess the architecture side is really just the technical aspect of how you would bring that work of art to the real world, right? Because it's like, so as a visual artist, you might, okay, I'm going to do this thing, and I'm going to, you can paint anything you want. But but I guess the architecture side is like, okay, well, I'm going to take this vision I have in my head, but it's going to be gigantic, and it has to stay up and not fall down. And so there's this entire other world behind it. But it would make sense that you would take an interest as a visual artist in that sort of side of it.
Yeah, I guess initially that seems like that's the link, right? Like, but you lose so much in the process of, I guess, like rationalizing a concept or like making sure it can be buildable. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I've found that now my role in it is more to like write about the architecture, to like imagine what it can be for other people who aren't architects, if that makes sense, like trying to make it more accessible. So I find that there's a lot of possibility in that. Whereas when I was kind of doing more traditional like drafting work, I felt like it wasn't my calling. Mm-hmm. But yeah, architecture is a huge world, a huge field, and I'm excited. I'm like happy that I've gotten to see it in different angles. But it's definitely something that's taken me on travels and to Berlin, for example, as well. So love architecture in that sense.
It's cool, yeah, and you seem to have found kind of your niche in that whole world, which is pretty cool. Like, I wonder if, I'd be curious, because how you were just saying, like, there's a lot that goes in. You have the vision of the building, and then the actual real world of bringing it to life impacts it. I'm curious if the Toronto Museum, because I remember seeing something a long time ago that there was like the original design of the Crystal ROM was very different from what we got. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if that's because maybe there was some kind of like the idea of how they were going to do it. Maybe it didn't work. And I wonder if maybe somehow the new design, maybe that's like they're getting, the designer's now able to get it closer to how he wanted it now. I'm curious if there's something to that.
Yeah, that could be, that could be true. I think there's a lot that's lost in translation, not just in the actual like bringing it from plan to form, but also where you are locally. Mm-hmm. So that architect, he's kind of this like international guy who his name is Daniel Liebskin. He puts like these crystal things on like basically everything that he touches. And then but then at the end of the day you have to like go through a local architect and a local engineer and like, you know, figure out where the materials are coming from. So I'm sure that maybe those things have been addressed in the new version.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm gonna have to read about that in the Architectural Guide Toronto at some point.
Same.
Yeah, definitely. I want to ask you about Mexico City, because we were both there coincidentally. I mean, not at the same time, but basically, it sounds like you left. You said that you came back around the 1st of March.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, around then.
And I flew there on the 2nd.
Yeah, we just missed each other.
Well, first of all, I mean, what an amazing city, which I knew nothing about. In fact, it's interesting, you know. I had this and I don't know. I don't know if it's the media or who to blame for it, you know. But like, you hear a lot of things about Mexico, of like, you know, whether it's safe, and like, my only experience of going there before that was like going to resorts, basically. Like I remember I went to Cancun with my family when I was little, and we stayed in the resort, and I loved it. It was really fun and pretty and everything. But there was always this thing of like, oh yeah, there's dangers, and then it was my girlfriend who initially mentioned, oh yeah, like a bunch of people I know have gone to Mexico City, and they said it's amazing. And I was, even leading up to the trip, I was kind of nervous. And then when I actually got there, I almost felt bad for feeling nervous before.
Yeah.
Like it might be one of my favorite cities I visited, to be honest, but I just really, really enjoyed it. It's huge for starters. Like, I almost feel like I need to go back because I have not seen enough. but just cafes, restaurants, beautiful architecture, lots to look at. So, yeah, tell me a bit about your experience in Mexico City.
Yeah, I think what you said resonates. Like, I think that I almost feel like they wanted bad press or something so that people wouldn't discover it.
Yeah.
And then like now we know. But I did my last internship in Mexico City a few years back. So this was like maybe the first time I visited in a couple of years. But yeah, one of my best friends, shout out to Pablo, he lives there. And I also got to check out Puerto Escondido for the first time, which is like on the coast.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, I agree. Mexico City is just like, it has such a wealth of architecture, like Art Deco and again, like contemporary stuff. I feel like their indigenous, like Aztec roots are really strong, and you feel that in the art and the food too. Yeah, it's a very joyful city.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. There was just always something going on. It's very, I mean, the thing that I found really cool was on the corners, like how normal it is. Like there's all these little stands where you can get tacos, but all sorts of types of food. And just, it's like, it feels very like community, like I walk by and, you know, there's like, it's just like a little stand, like one person cooking. And then there's like a whole bunch of people just sitting there eating their lunch. And you see like, that's just like the norm there. You just go there and grab food on the corner. And I'm like, that's cool. Like we don't really have that equivalent in Toronto. It's maybe a hot dog stand and I guess maybe a food truck, but it's not to that degree.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember during work days, at lunch, everyone would congregate in the same corners, as you said. And then also they made kind of this like hallway, in a way, like an outdoor hallway, because it's like the taco truck, or not truck, but like the stand is there, and it's like there's a meter between the stand and a wall, and then there's like an awning.
Yeah.
And then people would just be like, yeah, chilling in the enclosure that it made, and like you smell all the foods, and yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like you're just walking down the sidewalk and suddenly you're in you're in some kind of, I mean, you're in a restaurant almost. And yeah, that's right. The awnings. And I remember I walked through one particular day and there was like the smoke or whatever coming from the food and the sun was shining through and it just looked really, it was just like, I'm like, where am I right now? Like it felt so, felt so cool.
What was your favorite street food?
So one issue I did have was, I'm a vegetarian. And there are vegetarian options, but a lot of the street food ones didn't have, like most of them didn't have like a vegetarian option. So we had to be selective. I mean, we ate a lot of tacos when we were there. So that's probably my favorite. Yeah. I mean, even the avocados, just like avocados you get here, like they're from Mexico, but I think there's something about being able to get it. I don't know if it's fresher. It must be. I guess they ship it to get here. But like when you're buying it there, it just tasted. I mean, the food was really good. Like everywhere we ate, it was really good. So
yeah, and they got some vegan taco options now.
Yeah. But for those, like what we would find ourselves doing, like I think we only went to a couple of even the street stands for that reason, because a lot of them didn't have vegetarian. But we would have to like look, and there were options. You just have to like. Most of them were restaurants though. So I found myself more often in restaurants, and it was delicious.
Yeah, really good cafe culture, like you said.
Yeah. What about you? What's your favorite thing to eat there?
Ooh. Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, the thing that comes to mind, I think, is you were talking about vegetables. I love nopales. It's like the cactus leaf that they boil and like put mostly as toppings. But there was this one place, it was a vegan taco place. It was called Por Siempre Vegana Tacos or something. My friend Pablo, he's vegan, so we would go there. I went this time and they had kind of like changed and fallen off like since the very first time, which is fine. But when we were going before, he had this hack where we would like get the tacos, but they had a station where you put the toppings. Yeah. So he would just put a ton of like nopales and mushrooms and like everything, and it was like a whole other meal.
You kind of like double the size, triple the size of your taco.
Yeah, just like broke hacks when we were there.
Yeah. Delicious. I mean, there's no limit on how many toppings. I mean, you could just
right.
It's part of the system, I guess. One thing I bought, actually, I want to show everybody. Did you see these when you were there?
Yeah. Ooh.
So we were in, is it Chapultepec? Chapultepec, yeah. I'm sure, my pronunciation is not going to be. But it's like a giant, it's a humongous park. Like looking at it on the map, it was gigantic. And there's like multiple museums in there. And then the castle is there as well. And there's also a zoo there. We didn't go to the zoo, but I remember I kept hearing like what I thought was an animal. Like I thought it was like a tiger roaring. And I'm like, oh, I guess because we're near the zoo, maybe I'm hearing like animals. And so then I finally, like, I happened to be walking by, like, in that park, there's, like, whole rows of, like, vendors selling things. And I heard the sound, and I happened to be looking at the moment where I saw, so what this is, and they sell a bunch of them. So this one you can see is kind of like I think it's kind of a lion, maybe, or it's supposed to kind of look like a jungle cat of some kind.
It's pretty.
But they had a bunch of ones that were all, like, different animals. And so each one, this is like a whistle. That sounds, It sounds like the animal. So the person showed me, the girl who sold it to me showed me how to do it. So it goes like this. So. Wow. 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 Wow.
Wow.
Isn't that cool?
That really sounds like.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Like a lion yawning.
Yeah. And that's why when I was hearing that, and you're walking like outside and you just hear that, and I'm like, was that like a cat growling or something? But it was this, and I just thought it was so cool. And like, I think you can get good with it, because so when you're just blowing it, look at the sound it makes. So when you cover it, you can kind of shape it.
Oh, wow.
But I saw guys like, I guess the guys who sell it, they get really good at it. They were like making like growlings, like growling sounds and things. Like I think you can get really good to make it sound like a legitimate animal.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I feel like you should add that to your instrument repertoire.
When I was singing, I will definitely like record stuff and do stuff with this for sure.
Yeah, like sound effects even.
Yeah. And also home defense. Like just imagine if like a burglar breaks in, right? And then you're like hiding in a corner somewhere. Like if a burglar broke in and they heard this, like, wow, they'd probably be like, right? They'd probably be like, what do they have in here? I'm getting out of here.
It's a really surprising sound. Like I didn't expect that.
Yeah. And it doesn't sound human at all. Like it really does sound like something creepy. Right?
Yeah, like a ghost even.
Yeah. And I've got to think, like, obviously people who live in Mexico City, they probably hear these things all the time. Every time they go to a walk through the park, they see the vendors selling it.
The soundscape.
Yes. But in Toronto, this is a very like not familiar noise.
No.
So I think it would be very effective. Like maybe home defense in Mexico City, the person would hear, they'd be like, okay, they've got one of those whistle things. But here, that person would have had to have visited Mexico City and then remember. So it's more likely like, no, they'll think it's a real animal.
What other animals did they have?
So I saw one that looked like a bird. And when the guy was doing it, it sounded like a eagle, I think like a hawk, like the
oh, wow.
kind of sound. Yeah, yeah. And then this was the biggest one. And it came in like two other sizes, and they were slightly different sounding cats.
Oh.
So, yeah.
There were a lot of cats around the city.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Yeah, yeah. And I saw a few dogs around too, actually, interestingly.
Yeah, a few.
Yeah. It kind of makes me sad when I see that, actually, when I see dogs. I always feel like I want to take them home, but...
Yeah. Some of them are in better shape.
True, yeah.
I love the Chihuahuas, though. I feel like they're feisty. I don't really feel bad for them.
Oh, I didn't see a Chihuahua, actually, when I was there. I would have liked to have seen a Chihuahua.
They're small. They don't realize they're so small. They're always, like, on the offense.
Yeah, Chihuahuas are cool. In fact, have I ever seen one in person? When I think Chihuahuas, I always think of the old Taco Bell commercials. Did you ever see those?
Vaguely.
There was one where the Chihuahua would come up and he would say, "Yo quiero Taco Bell." That's what he would say. The dog would say it. But I'm trying to think if I've ever actually witnessed a Chihuahua in person. But there was a stretch where I was really I had a Beanie Baby Chihuahua because I was really into Chihuahuas for a while.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they're from Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should go back
and find one.
Chihuahuas.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I never saw a Chihuahua when I was there. Oh, you know what is something I did when I was there is I went and watched. This past year I've kind of gotten into wrestling, like WWE wrestling.
Okay.
And Mexico has like a very long, like a strong wrestling tradition, right?
Yeah,
the luchadors,
the
like
lucha
the mask.
libre, yeah.
Yeah, lucha libre. So I went and watched that when we were there, and
Amazing.
it had like the stadium we watched in. It was the oldest, I believe it was the oldest strictly wrestling stadium in North America, and it was just so cool. It almost felt like it was completely round inside, and they had the ring in the middle, and it was like super tall. Like it wasn't as big as like it was size enough that because the ring is kind of small, like a wrestling ring, and the rings go all the way around and went all the way up, and like the crowd was packed full, like it was sold out, and it was so loud, and it was amazing.
Yeah. I feel like the energy in those, because it's like very theatrical too, the way they're wrestling. Yeah, I wanted to go. I had wanted to go to like a boxing gym in Mexico City. I didn't have time. I've gone in Manila, but I know that boxing is a big thing in Mexico City too. Maybe next time.
Cool. Do you box?
Yeah, I box here, but I just tried Muay Thai for the first time, and I think I'm gonna pivot.
Interesting. What is it about Muay Thai that attracts you over boxing, do you think?
The gym had good vibes, but I just want to kick. Like I've been spending the last couple years punching, and that's cool, but knowing that you can like use your elbows and your knees and legs, like I think that would be
more full body experience.
Yeah, like wrestling's like full body, right? But
yeah. I mean, I guess so. Wrestling is like they're leaping and doing all sorts of things. Yeah.
I just want to kick.
Fair enough.
I also no, there's more. I feel like, because Muay Thai is from Thailand, and the Thais, I guess, like resisted colonization, whereas like we know Manny Pacquiao and Western boxing in relation to the Philippines because of the Western influence. So I just want to see what a martial art is like without, like having to succumb to Western influences.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. And I might be wrong, but I know like UFC, I think is now Muay Thai, I think is like the main one in UFC now.
Right. Yeah.
True?
I follow this promotership from Singapore called One Championship, and they're MMA, but most of the girls come from Muay Thai backgrounds because they're like a lot of Thai girls. So I feel like there's even more female representation somehow, but they're very lethal. Like they look super cute and like, yeah, just super cute. And then they're like,
don't mess with them now. Yeah.
That's what I want to do.
Nice. Yeah, I think I heard that it's like, because I remember in the earlier days of like UFC and MMA and stuff, it was like there were all sorts of fighting styles like of people entering. But I believe over the years, I think it's Muay Thai. I'm the wrong person to ask about it, but I thought Muay Thai seemed to be the one that if you studied Muay Thai, you were going to be more successful. I think in terms of a fighting style, it seemed to be more, maybe it was more adaptable, or just, for whatever reason, it just seems to be the best one.
Yeah, I guess because there are so many things in your arsenal. Yeah, I don't follow enough of, MMA, but I think there's something to be said about how each one translates. And like, I don't know, there was something, I think a year or two ago, I saw that Pacquiao was supposed to have a fight with this guy, Buakaw, who's a famous like Muay Thai fighter. Okay. But then it was like, one of them would be really disadvantaged because of like the translation of, martial arts. But that's a whole other niche.
So do you think we might, sometime after your next book, maybe we'll be seeing you in the ring someday on UFC?
Yeah, I can't rule anything out.
It's on the list. Coming soon, everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, next time we have you on the show, you'll be like promoting your next fight. It's coming up.
Exactly. My weigh-in. Yeah. I want to do a weigh-in.
Exactly. Watch for that, everybody. Okay, I think we should move. We have one final segment on the show.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, honestly, this was a good episode, and I know it was a good episode because when they shoot by like this, because usually we do the ad break, usually around 30 minutes. That's what we aim for. But on episodes where we blow by the 30 minutes, I'm always like, oh yeah, it's because we were just like, my favorite episodes are where you almost forget that you're even doing a show. You're just chatting.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I'm glad that.
No, it's been great. I've really enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, likewise. No, like I said, this is such a nice way to just like banter and get to know each other.
I agree. Well, we have one more segment. So, I mean, obviously putting this book together, it was a challenge, you know, and Muay Thai is challenging. You know, there are a lot of challenges in life, but I think this segment, this is the biggest challenge. So I hope you're prepared.
Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing this week's edition of the Barrel of Monkeys World Championship.
Oh.
So, are you familiar with this?
It's ringing a bell in my childhood memory. I don't remember how to play it.
Yes. You've witnessed this before. It's
registered somewhere.
So this is the classic game. I believe it came out in 1965. I actually say that every episode. I believe it came out in 1965, and I never check, but I think it was. And maybe one day I'll actually check and I'll know. But it was in the 60s. Barrel of Monkeys, the classic game. And we have a challenge on here. Every guest participates. And we have a ranking system, and who knows where you'll land, you know? But I will do a demo so you see how to do it, to remind you. So the way it works, we place the barrel on our play area, which is this thing here, but we'll put that down for when we're starting. Place the barrel down. I will put 1 minute on the timer. I'll say 3, 2, 1, go. You grab the barrel, pour out monkeys. You're done with the barrel. Pick up a single monkey. Use this monkey to pick up another monkey. Okay, I got lucky there. I got a couple more, but you use that monkey to grab another monkey. Use this monkey to pick up another monkey.
It's coming back to me.
Yeah, and this one to pick up another one. And you're just going to keep adding monkeys to the chain until the timers run out. When the timer runs out, you can freeze and we'll count them. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 monkeys. The one in your hand does not count towards your total. So that would be a 7 monkey total. Do you have any questions?
No, I love that we're playing a game. And it's like, okay, I feel like we had a lot of like trivia and stuff. Like this is like I'm using my hands. You know,
we get the full experience here on the show.
Yeah.
It's like it's a mind and body
spirit
experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go all the way in, all the way. Okay, so how are you nervous at all? How are you feeling? Your thoughts before we dive into this challenge?
I have like clammy hands, so I'm just hoping I don't like drop all the monkeys.
So we'll see. Might help, might not. We'll see. I don't know if it's an advantage or not. We'll find out.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will hand you the barrel. Okay, we'll move this. I'm going to put the play area here. So what you can do is you can just push the mic to the side. Don't worry about the microphone. Let's put this here. So
how much time do I have?
1 minute.
Okay.
So yeah, you place the barrel in the middle. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So let me get the timer ready here. Get 1 minute going. Timer 1 minute. Okay. Go to camera 2. In fact, actually, let me check just to make sure that our monkey thing is set up. It is. Okay. Okay. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go. All right, the monkeys have been poured. Just trying to find a way in. You got this. Don't panic. There you go. Okay, there we go. The childhood experiences they're paying off. She's just finding her way back in. 40 seconds remaining. Now, I will say this pour, they're quite spread out. It's a bit of a challenge. Can she get in?
It looks so... No.
They are not cooperating. I do have a bit of experience in this game. Okay, there we go. Now you've got it. It's all how... Ooh, they're kind of laying flat. This is a bit of a challenge one. Okay, yeah. You got the right idea there. There you go. Oh, okay, you can get that one back. You can get that one back.
Monkey down.
There you go. Oh, come on. You got it. You're right there. Yes. There you go. There you go. Oh, no, it jumped off. Time, everyone. Well, let me see. It's going to be tough to count. Let me see. One monkey, everybody. One monkey.
I didn't know you could, start off better than you ended.
It was you know what? I have seen worse. I will say that.
You made it look so easy.
We've seen, I will say, I've, obviously doing the demo every week. I've trained. What I found is the pour is pretty crucial. Like the way they fall out.
Yeah.
So if you end up with a kind of a pile, it's easier to get under there. But your pour, they kind of went, they spread out.
Yeah. They were all like lying flat.
Yeah, and that it can make it a challenge. Well, we can take a look at where you're sitting. One monkey. It's a little bit. Well, let's take a look at the monkey standings. So that's going to be small to read, but hang on, I can bring it up bigger for us here. So one monkey. Unfortunately, you're going to be sitting down here, but you know what? You have company. You are tied with Luke Esmond.
Shout out to Luke.
And you know what? Luke, very talented musician. And you know what? What's great about it is like, this is the starting point. It only goes up from here. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. And like, next time you're going to train.
Yes.
I'm
going to be like, I'm going to take a break from Muay Thai this week. I'm going to focus on my monkeys.
Exactly. You know what? And the next time you're just going to be unstoppable.
Thank you.
But there it is. You are now added to the list. Bianca Weeko Martin and Luke Esmond tied for, is it last place? Actually, I will say this. You're not in last because there was a 0. And they're not on the list because I was like, we're not going to put you up there. We won't have you as the 0. But it was kind of similar, like, because you did experience something that does happen sometimes where, like, sometimes the monkeys jump off.
Yeah.
Right? And the zero that we got was someone had a bunch of monkeys.
Ooh.
And, like, right at the end, like, 1 second left, the entire chain just went. And so she was left standing there with just nothing on there, and then the timer went off.
Wow. So, no one knows.
No one knows. Anything can happen, But
you gotta risk it sometimes.
You know what? That's life. That's right. You bounce back and you just keep going. But with that concludes this week's edition of the Barrel of Monkeys World Championship.
I like that monkey image.
Yeah, he's just living his best life in a barrel. He's doing it. You got the look wrote. Get him!
I got him. Yeah. Him.
I'm not sure if that was. I'm not sure if that comment was right before you went, or maybe it was during when you were actually going. But you got him. You got him.
I got him.
You got him. So mission accomplished. Mission accomplished.
I have other talents.
You know what? I will say that as well, because what has happened, I found, is we get a lot of different people and different like singers, actors, and people do different things, and sometimes it's like you have somebody, it's like this person's done something really cool, like this is a really talented person, and like it would almost not be fair if that person was just amazing at everything. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So like it's like, okay, published author, you know what I mean? Like a professional in the world. You can't be amazing at Barrel of Monkeys too, right?
It was humbling. I love a good humbling.
It's an experience. Mm-hmm. But thank you for being here.
Thank you for great start to my Sunday.
Excellent. Before we say goodbye, why don't you let people know social media, where they can find you, where they can follow you, your writing journey, and everything else that you might be up to. Yeah.
At badgalbb on Instagram, and my website is biancaweekomartin.com. You can kind of see like other writing, research, and projects up there. And if you're in Toronto, I'll see you around.
Awesome. And so, what is I don't know what is next for you? What are you working on right now? Or if you can say, I know you hinted at the possibility of a Toronto book, but Is there anything else, or I don't know if you're able to talk about it or not, but is there anything else you're working on?
Yeah, I don't want to jinx. I am superstitious, but I'm writing a lot. So yeah, nice. A lot of writing. And it's also kind of my year of being. I'm just trying to do more being than doing. But I'm doing the being.
Doing the being. Well, I mean, especially, coming off of, like, it sounds like the year of last year, especially, right, just of bringing this thing to life was, it must have been exhausting as well, yeah?
Yeah, I think, so. Yeah, and, like at events, there's a lot of extroverting.
Yes.
So that was tiring too.
Absolutely. Links in the description down below. I've got your Instagram is there, and I'm going to add the website as well as soon as we get off the air. So if you're watching this after the fact, it's there. Otherwise, she just told you where it is. Make sure you check it out. Follow me at right here where you're watching this video, youtube.com/Scott Dion Brown. That's the best place. It's where you get every episode of the Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown and Regine Alaina. It's where you get the vlogs. It's where you get the music. It's where you get all the stuff that I'm up to. YouTube is the best place to find me, but you can also find me on Instagram and X at Scott Dion Brown. Instagram, I posted a picture it was in Mexico City, and I'm going to be posting a bunch more because there were so many cool pictures because there's so many cool places in there. X, I barely post anything, but I'm there if you're there, so boom. Follow the show, The Sit Down with SDB on TikTok, The Sit Down with SDB on Insta, Sit Down Scott on X. You can also find The Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown on Facebook, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, all those places. Follow the show. And hit the like button down below if you enjoyed this episode. Everybody who was in the chat, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for asking questions. Thank you for the support. Hit the like button, subscribe. Make sure you follow Bianca on social media. And thank you all for tuning in. Yeah, once again, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. That was awesome.
It was fun. Really good chat, and it shot by so quick, which is my favorite type of episode. So,
yes.
There it is. The way we like to end the show. So saw how I started it with my mug coming out of the camera. So what we like to do is let the guest, you can take your mug and you can say your goodbyes to the audience, and then you can send your mug at this camera when you're done. So I'll say goodbye first. Bye everybody. Thank you for being here. See you next week. Regine, get well. It's very, very soon. And I'll see you in a week. And Bianca, thank you again. Say your goodbyes to the people and send them away.
Thank you, Scott. Get well, Regine. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. Shout out to my mom and dad and my brother. He's not here, but he just got his engineering ring.
Oh, nice.
Happy Sunday. Oh.
Perfect.